But what if they discover everything? Her voice was barely a whisper, laden with the weight of hidden truths. Let them, he said firmly, an undercurrent of resolve lacing his tone. People will create their narratives regardless. You have the chance to shape yours. Isn't that why you're here? A moment stretched between them, thick with unspoken tension, the echoes of their past flickering in their eyes. The chatter of guests faded, merging into the background as if the world narrowed to just the two of them. Raelynn finally broke the silence, her heart thudding audibly. I didn't expect to feel so much pressure. This is my moment to shine, and yet, Braxton's voice softened. What if your past is merely a passing storm, Raelynn? One that only makes your light shine brighter. Her gaze lingered on him, something vivid coursing between them that ignited more than just passion. It was understanding. Laughter erupted nearby, drawing their attention to a cluster of friends, Sylvia and Jamal, bickering about the artistic merit of a giant inflatable swan displayed in the corner. Seriously, who thought that belonged in an art show? Sylvia said with mock indignation, hands waving dramatically. It looks like someone lost a bet. Art is subjective, darling, Jamal chuckled, the light in his dark eyes sparkling with mischief. Besides, it's making a statement. It's all part of the experience. Right, Raelynn? Loosening the tension, Raelynn laughed. I think it's just a swan. But hey, if it floats your boat. Suddenly, a loud crash echoed from the entrance as a staggeringly tall man stumbled through the doorway, tripping over his own feet and toppling a tiered display of ornate vases. Gasps spread like wildfire, drawing eyes to the unexpected calamity. The crowd erupted into laughter as the man attempted to regain composure, his tie askew and a sheepish grin adorning his face. Somebody get this guy a skateboard. Sylvia snickered, winking at Jamal. As the scene unfolded, Raelynn glanced at Braxton, whose demeanor shifted perceptibly. The subtle hardness in his jaw tightened, worry lurking just beneath the smooth surface of his exterior. Raelynn leaned in, concern coloring her voice. Do you think? Before she could finish, Braxton squeezed her shoulder gently, grounding her. Stay present, Raelynn. We'll deal with whatever comes next. But Raylan's heart danced between exhilaration and dread as chaos whirled around them. The color of the evening began to shimmer anew, each laugh a brushstroke on the canvas of their night. She turned back to Braxton, ready to define what their commitments meant beneath the flashing lights of unpredictability. Braxton, she began, eager to steal a moment in the midst of the tumult, when the world felt right again. Let's make tonight our art, he interjected, his voice steady, yearning for connection. All of it, the chaos, the laughter, it'll be a masterpiece. And in that promise, they found something worth striving for, a pledge to forge ahead through the maelstrom, together, unbound yet intimately connected. Scene 22, Braxton's Past. The golden sun dipped low in the sky, spilling rich amber light across the glistening waters of the island. The wind was tepid, drifting lazily from the ocean, carrying the scent of salt and blooming hibiscus. Yet there was an unmistakable tension coiling in the air. Up on the terrace of the mansion, Raelynn Barrett stood alone, her fingers coiling around a glass of chilled Riesling, the fleeting warmth of the sun reflecting off the glass like fleeting memories. She knew this tranquility was merely a facade. Beneath the surface, she sensed the turmoil brewing, both in her world and in the man she had begun to love, Braxton Vale. Raelynn glanced at the sprawling Mediterranean architecture, its arches and terracotta tiles adorned with intricately crafted art pieces, each a testament to a story hidden in the shadows. But here, she felt exposed. Trying to piece together Braxton's past, she couldn't shake the feeling that she was an investigator standing on the precipice of a deeper mystery. And everywhere she turned, dread loomed like storm clouds on the horizon. Raelynn? Braxton's voice cut through the muted sounds of the island like the crack of thunder. He walked out onto the terrace, his tall frame silhouetted against the fading sunlight, casting a shadow that enveloped her like a shroud. Everyone else at the gala had drifted away, drawn by the allure of the ocean or the vibrant discussions in the grand hall, but not Braxton. He was anchored here, despite the weight that hung between them. Above the din of this soiree, you still managed to find me, Raelynn replied, her voice steadier than she felt. She turned to him, their eyes locking with that pulsating charge only the two of them shared. I was beginning to think you wouldn't. Braxton stepped closer, the scent of his cologne, a hint of cedar and musk, mingling with the humid air. I had my reasons. His tone was guarded, his dark eyes dancing with untold stories that made her ache to unravel them. What brings you out here? Missing the party? Just seeking some clarity, she confessed, her heart racing. I can't shake the thought that there's something you're not telling me about your family. The implication hung in the air, as thick as the humidity. He hesitated, the space between them charged with an unspoken cascade of emotions. I can't give you everything right now, Raelynn. You won't understand, he said, frustration tinging his voice. Try me, she challenged, emboldened by the intimacy of the moment. She stepped closer, the heat from his body radiating and drawing her like a moth to a flame. Their foreheads barely touched, and for a heartbeat, the world outside faded into silence. I've learned that understanding comes with scars, he murmured, his warm breath brushing against her lips. And I haven't shared mine. The sound of a door slamming echoed through the terrace, breaking their moment. They both turned to see Celine, the billionaire's daughter and an old friend of Braxton, storming out onto the porch, her vibrant dress swirling around her like a tempest. Braxton, you should come speak with your mother. She's been hunting you like a hawk. You're not going to hide forever. There was an urgency in her voice, but also jealousy. Raelynn stepped back, disoriented by the interruption, and nodded curtly. I can see you have more pressing matters, she said, folding her arms defensively. But Braxton's gaze remained fixed on her, the tension thick like marine fog. Don't think this changes anything between us. Your understanding may be the key to healing. I just don't know if I can let you in. Then don't, Raelynn shot back, heart heavy yet resolved, pushing past the perils of vulnerability. But I need to know you, Braxton, and that includes your past. As he opened his mouth to respond, a sudden shout erupted from the beach below, the bay erupting in chaos as a group of partygoers scattered, voices raised, fear laced through their shouts. Help! Someone's in trouble! The fracas drew their attention like a siren song, the momentary tension replaced by urgency. Stay here, Braxton commanded, but his look was already straying towards the growing commotion, instincts igniting. Like that will happen, Raelynn declared, slipping away from his grasp, the thrill of the chase taking over, even amidst the risk. As they raced towards the tumult, their hearts hammered in sync, Braxton loomed protective over her, even as shadows loomed over the evening sky, a fierce reminder that the past was never too far behind. What's happening? She asked, adrenaline surging. Braxton glanced at her, emotions swirling in his eyes, both protective and despairing. Stay close, Raelynn. We have to face this together. But as they plunged into the chaos, both felt the weight of hidden truths and the onrush of a storm. Knowing their intertwined paths would lead to answers neither might be ready to face. Scene 23. Unraveled Threads. The gala was a spectacle of elegance, a symphony of laughter reverberating through the grand hall. But beneath the shimmering surface of crystal chandeliers and polished marble floors, shadows lurked. Raelynn Barrett's heart raced, not merely with excitement, but with a gnawing unease that wrapped around her like a cold, damp fog. The vibrant colors of the evening swirled around her, yet all she could see was the empty space where the centerpiece, the rare sculpture that had traveled from Paris, should have been. Braxton Vale, tall and commanding, stood adjacent to her, his sharp gaze scanning the crowd. It's gone, he stated, his voice low enough for only her to hear. The intensity in his eyes suggested he understood the weight of the moment far more than anyone else present. Raelynn clenched her fists, feeling the warmth of her evening gown ripple across her skin like electric fire. The guards are supposed to be vigilant, she exclaimed, her voice trembling between anger and anxiety. This is supposed to be a secure event. Braxton's jaw tightened into a hard line, the musculature beneath his dark suit flexing subtly as he leaned closer. We need to find out who had access to it, and fast. The last thing I want is for you to bear the wrath of this theft. An uneasy silence fell between them, the laughter around them fading into a dull roar as each lost in their thoughts. You can't shield me from everything, Braxton, Raelynn replied, her tone sharp but edged with vulnerability. I need to do this myself. Softly, he said. I know, but you don't have to do it alone. His gaze was steady, and it sent a jolt through her, a mixture of warmth and despair. "Time is ticking," she encouraged. "We need to get moving." As they stepped away from the swirling crowd, Raelynn spotted Amara, the sharp-tongued florist and her close friend, across the room, surrounded by a cluster of intrigued guests. Amara's laughter erupted like fireworks, cutting through the tension for a brief moment. Raelynn felt a bubbling need for camaraderie, a tether to the world they had built on ambition and creativity. "Amara," Raelynn called, waving to her, urgency threading her voice. Amara's smile faltered as she approached. "What's wrong? You look like you've seen a ghost," she said, her eyes darting between Raelynn and Braxton. "The sculpture is missing," Braxton said succinctly, his tone shifting to a businesslike urgency. "We need to figure out who was around it last." Amara's face went pale, but she quickly masked her concern with determination. "I saw Nathan with his group over there," she said, gesturing towards the adjacent gallery, where a gathering of patrons were animatedly discussing the stolen art. "He was acting suspiciously. You know he's been dabbling in the underground art scene." Raylan's breath hitched, her intuition sparking. "Do you think he could be involved?" "It's worth checking out," Braxton concluded. "Let's move." As they approached Nathan's group, a muffled argument erupted between an elderly patron and a wealthy art dealer. "I'm telling you, it was right there," the dealer exclaimed, jabbing a finger in the direction of the now empty pedestal, while the old man waved his hands dismissively, as if shooing away an annoying fly. "Maybe you misplaced it, Jonathan," chimed in a woman clad in deep emerald silk, shooting him a condescending look, her voice smooth as honey, yet edged with venom. "Or should we start looking through your fabulous collection of debts?" Raelynn exchanged glances with Braxton, the tension in the air thickening. The elderly patron retorted, "Don't you dare speak to me like that. I've seen thieves like you slip through the cracks of this community. I'll make sure everyone knows your true colors." Raelynn leaned closer to Braxton. "This community thrives on trust, yet here we are, unraveling at the seams." "A true artist knows how to weave in and out of trouble," he whispered back, the subtext wrapping around their conversation, like the delicate strands of a tapestry. Just as tension flared, another cluster of guests erupted into laughter nearby, their banter an affront to the gravity of the situation. "Did you see the way Jonathan stumbled?" one exclaimed, clutching her pearls as if they would protect her from the chaos surrounding them. Braxton turned toward Raelynn, the fire in his eyes returning. "You have to confront Nathan. See what he knows." As he stepped back, something deep within Raelynn stirred, a determination that rang clearer than the crystal chandeliers above. She brushed a lock of hair behind her ear, squared her shoulders, and took a step toward Nathan, the weight of the moment filling her lungs. "Nathan," her voice cut through the surrounding noise, fierce and unwavering. "We need to talk." With each passing moment, the threads of conspiracy began to tighten around them, and she could feel the unraveling of secrets echoing through the glittering hall. Scene 24. A dangerous game. The grand ballroom echoed with the rustle of silk and the clinking of glasses, the soft light of golden chandeliers casting reflections on the polished marble floor. In the center of the extravagant space, Raelynn Barrett stood, her confident exterior belying the tumultuous storm brewing within. She was no stranger to high stakes, but the tensions electrifying the room felt particularly perilous tonight. "Why would you bring that up now?" A sharp voice cut through the soft murmur of the crowd. Jade Thompson, a prominent art critic known for her scathing reviews, gestured broadly, her glass of champagne nearly spilling over. The guests around her fell silent, lingering on the edge of a collective gasp as tension simmered beneath the surface. "Because truth is always the first victim of ambition," yet Raelynn replied, her voice steady but edged with barely restrained emotion. She held her ground, refusing to be intimidated. The whispers of scandal, the rumors of betrayal, wrapped around them like the delicate lace of her gown. "You think you can curate your image while ignoring the past?" Jade shot back, her words dripping with disdain. Other guests exchanged glances, the ripple of murmurs growing louder, hungry for drama. Braxton Vale, lurking at the fringes of the scene, felt his muscles tense. He had sensed the shift in the atmosphere long before Jade had opened her mouth, and now he couldn't help but step closer. There was a predator-like intensity to his protective instincts. Raelynn was caught in a crossfire not of her making, yet her fierce independence commanded his respect and concern. Jade's entourage, a gaggle of equally skeptical acquaintances, joined in, snickering like crows on the wire. "She's just a curator playing dress-up," one of them chimed in. The laughter felt icy. With a deep breath, Raelynn straightened, memories of community and loyalty flooding her mind. She had risen above the shadows cast by family secrets. "I'm not the one hiding behind veils of jealousy, Jade." The silence that followed was heavy. It felt like the air being sucked out of the room. Admiration flickered in Braxton's eyes, and he eased through the crowd, the space parting like a sea around him. "This isn't a game, Jade," he interjected, his deep voice reverberating with authority. "You're straying into dangerous territory." Jade's smirk faded, her bravado wobbling. "And you're encouraging her? You could do so much better than someone with her baggage." The air crackled between them, heavy with accusations and unspoken truths. Raelynn looked at Braxton, seeing in his eyes a flicker of self-assurance that bolstered her spirit. "My baggage is what makes me who I am. Every experience has shaped me," Raelynn declared, squarely focused on the critic now. "You wouldn't understand that." Jade huffed, incredulity etched across her face. "It's easy to play the martyr when you're hiding your past. This is an expose, not a pampered gala." The tension escalated, a palpable energy like an impending storm. Guests stretched their necks, like moths drawn toward a flame, each moment rendered painfully dramatic. And then, amidst the whispers and swirling accusations, the atmosphere shifted. A low rumble of laughter emerged from the far side of the hall, distinctly contrasting the tension. A group of onlookers had turned their attention to Marcus, a cheeky artist known for his offbeat humor, illustrating an absurd rendition of tonight's events in real time on his notepad, eliciting snickers from the crowd. "Look, it's a live art critique. Drama queens on display," he declared, holding up the sketch. Laughter erupted as the air filled with unexpected levity, dissolving some of the tension. Raelynn couldn't help but chuckle, glancing at Braxton, who raised an eyebrow with an amused smirk. "Why did I ever think this was serious?" she muttered, her smile breaking through the facade of confidence. "It's always serious until laughter gets involved," Braxton replied, a sly grin tugging at the corner of his lips. But just as Raelynn was beginning to relax, the laughter died as quickly as it had arisen. Jade's smirk returned, sharp as a knife. "You're nothing without your past, Raelynn, just a tarnished frame around unfinished art." The words landed like a blow, sharp and unforgiving. Braxton's expression hardened, a warning flashing in his eyes. "That's enough." But the battle lines were drawn, and he knew Raelynn would fight her own battle. She faced Jade boldly. "If you want to talk about unfinished art, let's discuss what you're hiding under that facade of superiority." Silence draped over them once again, that fragile yet electric with anticipation. Raelynn shifted slightly toward Braxton, as if anchoring herself in his presence, summoning her steady resolve amidst the chaos. And in that charged moment, her heart raced, a sensation that mirrored the closer distance Braxton moved toward her. She felt a magnetic pull, one that spoke of connection, of a shared defiance against the onslaught of judgment. In the midst of adversarial questions and rising allegations, their breaths synchronized. The world around them faded. Braxton leaned in, his whisper brushing against her ear. "You're more than your past, Raelynn. Don't let them diminish you." As their eyes locked, the world was momentarily forgotten, the tension shifting into a palpable intimacy. It felt like fire catching in a dry forest, fierce and unavoidable. A complex blend of fierce loyalty and something deeper, unspoken between them, hung in the air. Then he kissed her, a brief, electrifying connection igniting a swirl of emotions that surged through her, leaving both of them breathless. The chaos beyond them faded, the accusations, the doubts lingering, but in this moment there was only them. The tumult of the gala ebbed. The music of hearts beating filled the void. And when their lips finally broke apart, Raelynn whispered, "This is far from over." Scene 25, Crisis and Loyalty. The tropical night air was thick, pulsating with the distant sounds of laughter and clinking glasses from the lavish gala spreading across the sprawling estate. Raelynn Barrett stood at the edge of the balcony, her heart racing, both from the thrill of the night's unfolding drama and the weight of her own trepidations. Orchestral music flowed like molten gold from within, but here, the cool ocean breeze offered little solace. She peered into the darkness, her mind heavier than the crescent moon that hung above, a light veiled by shadows. She thought of the theft that had rocked the soiree, the artist's stolen dreams now just echoes of whispers. Raelynn, Braxton Vale's voice cut through her thoughts. Like the sweet tang of citrus, it was both refreshing and alarming. She turned, attempting to mask the sudden swell of emotion with a composed smile, but it faltered before it could take root. "Braxton," she replied softly, her fingers gripping the railing as if it were a life buoy. "I've been trying to understand how this could happen. Who could have betrayed us?" Braxton stepped closer, the moonlight casting him in shadows that accented the sharp lines of his face. "Betrayal is a common part of ambition, Raelynn. Did you think this artsy charade wouldn't have its dark corners?" Across the patio, chattering guests continued their conversations, unaware of the storm brewing among them. Raelynn sensed the tension knotting in her stomach. "I can't just stand here. I need to." "You need to trust me," he interrupted, his deep voice low yet firm. "I know you're used to controlling the narrative, but sometimes the game plays us." Her jaw clenched, featuring an argument clear as the night. "Trust? That's rich coming from you. You've been hiding things as long as I have. And look where it has led us. Look where it has brought us together," he shot back, frustration boiling just beneath his composed surface. "Or are you forgetting that? The stolen piece wasn't just for the gala. Someone deemed it important enough to ruin everything." Raelynn stepped toward him, their heated proximity electric. "And it's because of the pieces of my past that we're going to lose everything," she said, her voice trembling at the edges. "Family history isn't a mere footnote, Braxton. Sometimes it decides our fate." He stiffened, his gaze narrowing, yet a flicker of understanding passed between them. "We face the ghosts of your past together. You're not alone in this, not if you let me in." Before she could respond, laughter erupted behind them. Felicity, a flamboyant art dealer known for her gossiping ways, swept onto the balcony, pausing at the sight of the tense couple. "Well, look at you two, poised like a painting ready for the finishing stroke," Felicity quipped, her flamboyant dress swaying in rhythm with her chuckle. "Care to enlighten the rest of us on your impassioned tête-à-tête?" She smirked, clearly eager for some spicy gossip. Braxton turned abruptly, the tension around them crackling. "This is no time for games, Felicity," he snapped. "Conflict, dear Braxton, is the spice of life." Felicity laughed lightly, glancing between them. "And trust me, the gala takes an interesting turn when the drama's uncorked. Word travels fast." "Yeah, especially when it's made up," Raelynn muttered, her eyes narrowing slightly. "What verdict have you arrived at? Who's next on your rumor mill?" Felicity raised an amused eyebrow. "Someone close to you, darling. It seems scandal has its way of uncovering allies and foes alike. An old enemy, perhaps." A palpable silence fell over the balcony, disrupted only by the melodic strum of a guitar playing inside. Raylan's mind spun, her past intertwining with visions of foreboding futures. "I don't need a fortune teller for that," she whispered, her voice softening toward Braxton. "I just need clarity." Braxton stepped closer, their breaths mingling in the sultry air. "Trust in me, Raelynn. Together, we not only investigate this theft, we face whatever comes next, and that includes your past." "Together?" she echoed, wary yet hopeful. "You really mean that?" His eyes, serious yet warm, reached for her heart, as if to pull her closer. "Every step. Let's see who truly stands by us amid the chaos." The unspoken secrets surged between them, an acknowledgement of their tumultuous paths. Raelynn gazed into his eyes, grappling with the weight of both allure and danger that lay ahead, as uncharted as the ocean below. "All right," she whispered, feeling the tide of loyalty pulling them closer. "But we best be ready for storms." As the night deepened, laughter faded only to reveal a symphony of infinite possibilities, a mixture of scandal, ambition, desires, and a churn of emotions that intertwined like roots beneath the surface. Scene 26. Beneath the surface. Raelynn Barrett stood on the spacious terrace of the grand estate, the ocean's frothy waves crashing against the secluded cliffs below. A thick blanket of clouds hung low in the sky, churning and gray like the tumult in her heart. The salty sea breeze tousled her hair, intertwining with the tension that crackled between her and Braxton Vale, who leaned casually against the balustrade. Their surroundings were both breathtaking and suffocating, echoing the paradox of their relationship, as the beauty of the estate masked the chaos lurking beneath the surface. "I can't shake the feeling that someone is watching us," Raelynn said, her voice barely above the sound of the wind. She absent-mindedly traced the edge of a delicate porcelain figurine on the table, a relic from a past that felt increasingly closer, yet unbearably far away. Braxton turned, his dark eyes narrowing with intent. "You're right to feel that way. This place is filled with secrets. You just need to have the patience to uncover them." He stepped closer, the warmth of his presence creating an electric charge in the cool evening air. A shiver ran down her spine, not entirely from the chill, patience, or danger. Every corner of this island seems to whisper of lies. The moment hung heavy between them, a taut string vibrating with the unspoken. The sound of laughter from the interior reached them, a group of guests oblivious to the rising stakes. She glanced inside at a gathering of vibrant personalities, artists, collectors, and the wealthy elite, each masking intentions behind practiced smiles. "Look at them," she said, nodding toward the crowd. "Their polished facades, I can't help but wonder who's hiding what." Braxton's gaze followed hers, scanning the crowd. "They're not so different from us, you know. Everyone has their own agendas, Raelynn. Yours just happens to be more complicated." The final word dripped with layered meaning, a challenge she could feel radiating off him. Before she could respond, Marianne, a fellow curator and one of the evening's quieter guests, approached, her expression all nerves. "I overheard something," she began, glancing around as if checking for eavesdroppers, "about an artifact that wasn't registered for tonight's exhibit. Something valuable." "Something valuable that could provoke greed," Braxton mused, his brow furrowed. "Whoever has their hands on that piece could be a threat to us all." Raelynn felt her heart quicken. "Where is it now?" "The gallery," Marianne replied. "But it's locked up tight. We'd have to find a way in." A newly invigorated determination flickered in Raylan's chest. "Let's do it," she declared. "We have to see what we're dealing with." As they plotted their next move, the skies shifted, a low rumble of thunder announcing an impending storm. The crack of lightning illuminated the terrace for a split second, casting stark shadows that danced across their faces. It seemed to reflect the brewing storm within her, a mixture of excitement and dread. "Braxton," Raelynn whispered, stepping closer, heart pounding. "Whatever this is, we have to face it together." "Together," he echoed, his voice deep and steady, pulling her deeper into his gravity. "But be ready for anything. When we uncover the truth, it may not be something we're prepared to handle." His fingertips brushed her arm, sending a cascade of warmth racing through her. The intimacy of the moment wrapped around them like a cocoon, pushing out the looming chaos. For a heartbeat, all that existed were the sparks in his gaze and the way her pulse thrummed in response. "Then let's be brave," Raelynn whispered, her resolve intertwining with an undeniable pull toward him. There was a certain thrill in the dance of danger, a promise that their entanglement transcended mere attraction. As they lingered close, the distant laughter from the party faded, replaced by the weight of their shared mission. The world around them blurred, the approaching storm now a metaphor for their own turbulent journey. They would unveil the secrets of the island, but first, they had to confront the mystery of each other. "Sometimes bravery means risking everything," Braxton said softly, leaning closer, his breath warming her skin. Raelynn nodded, a complex blend of excitement and fear swirling within her. They were standing at the edge, both literally and figuratively, teetering on the brink of revelation and danger. "Let's dive beneath the surface then," she replied, her voice strong. "Whatever comes next, we face it together." With that, they turned toward the interior, ready to confront the hidden truths of the gallery, their hearts and minds entwined in a dance of ambition and love. Scene 27. Caught in the crossfire, the golden sun dipped low over the verdant hills of the exclusive island, casting long shadows that danced across the manicured gardens of Palazzo Avon. The late afternoon air crackled with tension, the sweet scent of jasmine losing its charm against the palpable unease at the estate's central terrace. Raelynn Barrett stood near an ornately carved fountain, its gentle trickle breaking the heavy silence, heart racing as though it could sense the impending storm. Braxton leaned against the brick railing, arms crossed, his expression unreadable. The sun reflected off his warm brown skin, making him glow with an intensity that both captivated and terrified her. In that moment, she could see it, the man she fell for, wrapped in layers of charm and enigma. But there was something darker clouding his gaze as he spoke sharply to Wolfgang, who had just stormed onto the terrace with all the subtlety of a thunderclap. "Braxton, you need to stop playing games," Wolfgang said, his voice low but carrying a weight that filled the space between them. He swept his hand through the air, pushing back frustration. "You think you're the only player on this board?" Raelynn edged closer, breath caught, watching the two men volley their words like swords. The crispness of the autumn air felt heavy, charged. She knew Braxton's truth was tangled in deceit, and yet every ounce of her wanted to believe in the fire she felt when he turned his attention to her. "Games? Is that what this is to you?" Braxton's voice was steady, but laced with barely contained fury, muscles tightening beneath the fabric of his shirt. "We're not children, Wolfgang. This isn't just about you and me anymore." She could see Wolfgang's jaw tighten, a shift in his posture as he shifted slightly, a predator sizing up its prey. "But you let it become this, didn't you? You let her walk right into the middle of our mess." Raylan's heart dipped. "What mess?" she whispered, though she was sure she did not want to know. A bitter smile flitted across Wolfgang's lips, a gesture that drove a nail deeper into her chest. "She deserves to know, Braxton," he spat, pointing directly at her, "just how deep in it she is." "Don't," Braxton barked, stepping forward, the space between them fracturing, crackling with hostility. Raelynn felt the electrifying tension whip against her skin, the undertow of danger propelling her forward like a moth to the flame. "Why?" Wolfgang taunted, his posture unyielding. "Are you afraid of what she might think, or that you might lose her when she finds out about your family's ties? Is that why you've kept her here, to play the perfect distraction while you hide your sins?" The unrelenting sun gave way to swirling clouds, swallowing the brightness and plunging the terrace into shadow. Raelynn felt the ground shift beneath her, every word a shackle, drawing her into a past that clawed at her with desperation. "Enough," Braxton growled, rage boiling up. In a flash, he surged toward Wolfgang. The sound of fists meeting flesh echoed like thunder, breaking the tension like glass shattering in silence. Raelynn gasped. "No." She lunged forward, but the two men were locked in a primal ballet, fists flying, their grunts and labored breaths filling the charged air. She could only watch in horror, heart racing as she felt the weight of the situation crash down around her. Braxton dodged a blow, swinging back, and the connection sent Wolfgang stumbling. "You don't get to threaten her, not ever," he roared, the ferocity igniting something in Raelynn, stirring her heart into a tumult. "Why are you fighting for someone who is just playing you?" Wolfgang retaliated, his expressions flipping between disdain and incredulity. "You think her past won't find you, Braxton? It's all over, you can't hide it, and neither can she." Raelynn swayed slightly, feeling the fear knot through her. The stakes were higher than she could have imagined, and she suddenly felt caught between two worlds, love and the truth. She rushed forward, bracing herself against the fence, the cold metal biting into her palms as she shouted, "Stop it, both of you!" Braxton paused momentarily to look at her, his breath heavy, eyes dark with confusion and anger. "Raelynn, stay back," he pleaded, tension cracking between them, a rift wide open. But she shook her head, steadier than she felt. "I'm not scared of the truth. I just want you both to stop." In that moment, as the wind swirled and the clouds rolled ominously overhead, Raelynn realized the fight was just beginning, not just on the outside, but within her heart, a battle for love, identity, and the shadows of her past. Scene 28. Shadows of the family. The sun dipped low over the horizon, casting a warm orange glow that flickered through the tall palms lining the patio of the sprawling villa. Raelynn sat at the edge of the outdoor seating area, her fingers tracing the smooth ceramic of her half-empty coffee cup. The aromatic hints of roasted beans mixed with the saltiness of the nearby sea air. She could hear laughter drifting in from the garden, where a gathering of eclectic guests were mingling, but there was a tension simmering within her, almost palpable. I just don't understand how he could turn his back on family like that, Raelynn said, her voice a mix of frustration and fleeting hope as she faced Braxton, who leaned against the balustrade, arms crossed. His gaze drifted over the horizon, where the vibrant sky clashed with the deep blue of the ocean. He was always too proud, Braxton replied, the sharpness of his tone undercutting the peace of the setting. Wolfgang had ambitions, and he couldn't handle the thought of being overshadowed, especially by me. His eyes were dark, reflecting shadows that lingered not just from the setting sun, but from a past intertwined with betrayal and secrecy. Raelynn felt a sudden urge to bridge the chasm between them. And yet you're here, standing in the same spot where he left you, she remarked, lowering her voice, a hint of vulnerability escaping through the otherwise tight control she maintained. What do you want, Braxton? Are you trying to mend things, or is this game you're playing trying to tear him down? Braxton turned to her, his muscles taut with tension, his gaze locked onto hers, and she could see the flicker of anger fading into something deeper, something raw. I'm not playing games, not with you or him. I need to know why he did it, why he left, and why he continues to haunt every decision I make. Above them, the faint hum of cicadas filled the air, almost drowning out the tentative silence stretching between them. Raelynn felt a sudden chill, something electric and achingly intimate that hung there as they both wrestled with their emotions. Is the truth worth it, Braxton? She asked quietly, leaning in toward him, her curiosity piqued by the shadows cast between family ties and personal ambition. Sometimes I think it's better to let the past be. He stepped closer to her, and despite the radiant warmth of the evening, an intensity mirrored in his eyes sent shivers down her spine. That's naive, Raelynn. Family isn't just blood. It's the choices we make, the sacrifices we endure. If you knew the real story. He paused, his voice dropping to a husky whisper. Would it change everything? Raelynn felt the weight of his words, the promise of vulnerability hanging in the air. She studied him, tempted to reach out and bridge the distance. You're hiding something too. I can feel it, she pressed, her heart racing. You can't pretend that this doesn't hurt you. He ran a hand through his hair, frustration flaring in his expression. I've spent years building walls. I had no choice. You did, she countered, chose to build your life in shadows, just like him. Raelynn? His voice softened, a mix of longing and melancholy surfacing in his steady gaze. It's not that simple. At that moment, the laughter from the garden burst noisily into the atmosphere, breaking the spell that had woven between them. They both turned to see Wolfgang approaching, a drink in hand, looking as if he had just walked off some swanky magazine cover. The clash of their worlds was stark, and in that instant, Raelynn recognized the weight of loyalty and betrayal writ large upon Braxton's shoulders, and it brought forth a flood of emotions swirling within her. I see you two are deep in discussion, Wolfgang called, a shade too light-hearted for the intensity of the moment. Do we need to intervene? I hear debates can get heated. Braxton's jaw tightened, but before he could respond, Raelynn stepped forward, using humor to cloak the tension. No need for intervening, just figuring out how not to murder each other over family drama. Wolfgang raised an eyebrow, a smirk flickering on his lips. Ah, but family drama is what makes this life so spicy, isn't it? Braxton's voice was firm, almost cutting. Maybe too spicy for some, Wolfgang? The tension simmered as they exchanged glances, but Raelynn could sense Braxton's need to protect, to salvage what little he had left. The air crackled, full of unsaid words, as she drew a breath and grabbed Braxton's hand with unexpected resolve. Let's not spend another breath on the past, Raelynn said, her voice steady despite the chaos unfolding. Let's find out who we are in this moment. Braxton gave her a searching look, as if she were the lighthouse guiding him through the stormy seas of family and deceit. Perhaps there was a way to choose something other than shadows after all. Scene 29. Secrets revealed. The air surrounding the art gallery was thick with tension, punctuated only by the rhythmic crash of waves against the cliffs outside. Raelynn Barrett perched stiffly on the edge of a sleek metal bench, her heart drumming loud enough to drown out the usual whispers of art history that echoed off the pristine walls. The beauty of the gallery's newly curated collection faded into the background as the weight of her past loomed larger than the sculpture towering in the corner. Braxton Vale strode in, his presence magnetic, sparking a flicker of both comfort and wariness in Raelynn. His deep-set eyes, often a source of warmth, now sparked with a warning that made her stomach twist. He leaned against the doorframe, arms crossed over a navy linen shirt that accentuated his athletic frame, and something primal surged in Raelynn. "Why didn't you tell me?" Braxton's voice was low, threaded with an intensity that threatened to suffocate her. Raylan's breath hitched. "What are you talking about, Braxton?" She tilted her chin, summoning a courage that crackled in the dim light. "I don't." "Your last exhibit, Raelynn," he cut her off, stepping closer, the tension thick as he shifted into her space. "I know what it represents, the connections, your family." His words hung like unresolved brushstrokes amid her carefully curated life. A whirl of conflicting emotions flashed across her face, the vibrant colors of insecurity and regret battling against her professionally composed demeanor. "That doesn't change who I am now," she stated, her voice fierce but vulnerable, softer than she intended. Braxton clenched his jaw, the lines of his face hardening. "But it changes everything, doesn't it? You can't just erase your history, Raelynn." A breeze swept through the gallery, carrying the salty scent of the ocean, mingling with the polished wood and metal of the art. Raelynn fidgeted with a pendant resting on her collarbone, its weight a reminder of her mother's legacy, suffocating and confusing. "I'm done running from my past," Raelynn finally confessed, her voice wavering for a moment before regaining strength. "I'm here, Braxton. I'm working on my future." Braxton's expression softened, a flicker of admiration breaking through the tension, but it was quickly obscured by his irritation. "With me or out of guilt? That's not fair," she retorted, the spark igniting an electric pulse between them, charged with unresolved desires. His intense gaze searched hers as if looking for cracks in her facade. "You're not just a curator, you're a survivor, but it's wearing on you. You don't have to carry that burden alone." Silence enveloped them, thick and expectant. It was palpable, the unsaid words threading together their complexities, drawing them closer even as they fought against the pull. Raelynn could feel her heart racing, each beat playing a symphony against the backdrop of their confrontation. "Maybe I don't want your help," Raelynn shot back, her bravado wavering as a sting of vulnerability crept into her words. Braxton's brow arched, his posture defiant. "Then what do you want, Raelynn? Is that really the question?" She responded, her voice a careful whisper that trembled under the weight of their unspoken connection. She stepped forward, the space between them throbbing with tension as they confronted their feelings, flawed and raw. Then, almost instinctively, Braxton reached out, fingers brushing against her elbow, a feather-light touch that accelerated the heat rising in her cheeks. The sudden intimacy caught her breath, unraveling her defenses. "I want the truth," he murmured, his voice low and riddled with emotion. Raylan's pulse quickened, her defenses crumbling as she leaned closer, caught in his gravity. "And what if the truth is too much?" Braxton leaned in, his gaze searching hers, a chasm of understanding forming between them. "Then let's face it together," he replied softly, the world around them fading as the confrontation morphed into something deeper. Time hung in suspension as they locked eyes, lingering in the moment before stepping into the unknown. The warmth of his breath fluttered against her skin, sending tremors of longing coursing through her veins. Raelynn closed her eyes, surrendering to the intensity of the gazes they shared, the heat swelling in the closeness, until finally she felt the gentle graze of his lips against hers, a soft collision that spoke all the words they had left unsaid. As the kiss deepened, a beautiful surrender to this volatile mix of secrets, sadness, and hope, the gallery dimmed around them, letting the waves' symphony fill the void. Time lost its meaning, the kiss their shared promise of understanding, of navigating fraught histories and newly forged futures, where truths had no choice but to be revealed. Scene 30. The Gallery Heist. The heavy scent of oil paint lingered in the air as the first raindrops began drumming against the gallery's sleek skylights. Outside, storm clouds congregated, their dark forms scattering blue-gray shadows across the polished concrete floor. Raelynn Barrett strained her ears, trying to catch the last murmurs of excitement from the bustling opening gala. The clinking of glasses and lively chatter ebbed in the background, but all she could think of was the weight of anticipation tightening in her chest. "Do you think something feels off?" she asked Braxton Vale, her voice barely rising above of the wind's occasional howl outside. He leaned against the edge of a small pedestal, a low, simmering intensity radiating from him. "Just the clouds brewing trouble. You worry too much," Braxton replied, his tone playful yet serious, his dark eyes searching her face. He wore a fitted jacket that accentuated broad shoulders and commanded attention even in the intimate environment. Raelynn bit her lip, her mind spiraling. "No, it's more than that. Last time we lost the Calder piece. Now this?" She tilted her head towards the stolen artwork in the corner. A vibrant canvas of blues and reds stood alone, shrouded in a silk cover, a testament to the rising stakes of her career and the growing shadows of her family's past. "Listen, there's always going to be risks in the art world. Just like life," he said, stepping closer, his presence a warm contrast to the swirling storm. "But I can't shake the feeling that we're being watched," Raelynn confessed, taking a step back, suddenly aware of how close he was. "It's like—" Before she could finish, the gallery's front doors burst open, and two figures rushed in, drenched and panting, their clothes clinging to anxious forms. Raelynn recognized Mia and Leo, two young artists whose vibrant paintings often caught the eyes of the gallery's elite. "Raelynn," Mia cried, her dark curls bouncing as she pushed closer. "You won't believe what just happened. We think someone's stealing from the main room." Raylan's heart sank. "What do you mean?" "Right before the storm hit, I saw a shadow slip past the Calder display," Leo added, breathless. "They grabbed the piece and vanished. We need to act fast." A shiver raced down her spine. Again, this can't be happening. The weight of responsibility pressed against her, tugging at the edges of her confidence. "Did anyone else see it?" "No one's noticed yet. The crowd is distracted by the champagne and advanced art talks," Mia said, urgency lacing each word. She glanced at Braxton, who remained steady, his gaze now sharper, scanning the rain-soaked road outside. "It's deadly out there," Leo insisted. "We need to alert the security and then track it down ourselves." Braxton's brow furrowed, and he stepped forward. "Raelynn, you can't." "No, I'm not sitting this one out." She straightened, leveling her gaze at him. "This is personal, and I won't let whoever did this take my reputation with them." As the rain intensified, pounding against the glass like a call to arms, the atmosphere thickened with tension. Braxton relaxed his shoulders, his Yoda-like gaze locked onto hers. The smoldering undercurrent between them crackled with unspoken words, plunging deeper than the crisis at hand. "Let's split up," he finally said. "Mia, you and Leo check outside. Raelynn and I will secure the main room." "How do we know the thief isn't already in here?" Mia questioned, unease taking root. "Because they would have taken the Calder piece already," Raelynn asserted, a flicker of determination igniting within her. "Stay focused and keep communication open." Braxton instructed, his tone firm yet infused with an intensity that sent ripples through her. They divided, the weight of their collective ambitions mingling with fear in the humid air. Raelynn and Braxton moved stealthily toward the main display area, the tension palpable, hearts drumming in sync with the weather outside. Every step felt charged, and with the flickering gallery lights mirroring lightning strikes in the distance, a palpable energy forged a connection that was equally thrilling and terrifying. "Raelynn," Braxton's voice dipped to a low murmur, drawing her attention. "Yeah," and in that moment, time slowed. He leaned in, his breath warm against her skin, and for a breathless heartbeat the world vanished, leaving only the wild storm and the whirl of emotions tugging at her. A world of ambition and betrayal melted away. Their lips almost touched. A sudden crash from the main exhibit shattered the moment, a cacophony of sound that sent shards of fear slicing through her heart. The heist was on, and with it, their fragile intimacy faded. The rain continued to pour, storm clouds heavy with anticipation. Raelynn clenched her fists, resolve strengthening. This wouldn't define her. She would uncover the truth behind the art world's shadows. "Let's go," she said, her voice steeled with determination. Whatever lay ahead, she would face it head on. Scene 31, an unlikely ally. Raelynn leaned against the polished mahogany desk in the small, cluttered office of Malachi Jensen, the island's head of security. The scent of aged wood mingled with faint traces of fresh linen, a much-needed comfort amid the tension that hummed in the air. Malachi's brow furrowed as he adjusted his glasses, peering at the intricate drawings she had laid out before him, a detailed layout of the gallery, highlighted with notes about security blind spots and vulnerabilities. Is there a reason the cameras weren't functioning last night? Raylan's voice cut through the silence. Her tone was steady, but there was an underlying current of urgency that neither could ignore. Malachi's jaw clenched subtly, a flicker of unease passing over his features as he rifled through files. "I can't be sure," he replied, glancing over his shoulder at the closed office door, as if expecting eavesdroppers. "But if there's any indication that someone has tampered with anything, it could get very messy. It's not just about us anymore." Raylan's heart raced at his implication. The stakes had never felt so personal. But rather than dwell on the fear creeping in, she pushed forward with focus. "We need to devise a plan, something proactive. What if we install a backup system that alerts us the moment anything goes offline?" Malachi's eyes lit with a mix of admiration and intrigue, a rare moment where the guarded man seemed to allow raw skepticism to shift toward possibility. "That could work, but it requires funding and the right equipment and time." "Time is something we don't have," Raelynn insisted, moving closer, the flickering overhead light casting soft shadows across his face. She could see the pulse in his neck quicken, but she pressed on, refusing to let hesitation drown her resolve. "Someone's stealing from us." "I know," he said, his voice dropping to a whisper. The air between them thickened, the electric potential of their proximity becoming almost palpable. She took a deep breath, closing the distance, her eyes locked onto his, searching for reassurance. "What do you need from me?" he asked, a hint of a challenge creeping into his tone. Raelynn lowered her voice to a near hush, knowing how vulnerable she appeared in this moment, him with his steadfast posture and her with quiet intensity. "I need you to trust me,"